a form of violence justified under the mask of compassion. So to answer
Why look like something's missing on
we have
here?
a higher
Okay, there
expectation of
is.
ourselves in this country. We aren't comfortable with the idea of using extreme violence to pay for healthcare or most things our taxes go to. We believe in the free market and the good of our fellow citizens to create innovative solutions to the issues facing our society. And we know we can accomplish those goals through free association and without the coercion through force that is required by our government.
Okay.
Of all the things you said government provides, roads, schools, etc., take a look at their budgets,
I have an idea.
costs, and quality of service and see if they work. If they don't, they're over budget and subpar. So why would anyone want people running our current services to run any more services? Didn't cost us a penny. Yes, it did. This is what I'm so upset with. The fact that everyone thinks it is free. I was born in America, have a father who was American military. He was deployed to the first Gulf War, leaving a wife and 3 young children. Shortly after he left, we had a gas leak where my family, including me, was lucky to survive. But my mum was very ill. Having a father in the military, it covered healthcare. However, because we didn't have insurance, the ambulance crew, called not by my mum but the fire DPT, tried to charge my mum $50
Why?
to drive her down the road to get to hospital.
Okay.
My mum refused point blank. She is British and typically
Ew,
gave
what the
emergency
hell?
service staff a piece of her mind eloquently in style and didn't have the cash to give
Okay.
anyway. I am so very proud
This
of the NHS
looks
and
better than
the
I
fact moved to a
expected,
country where
I
everyone can be
guess.
given healthcare regardless of wealth. Thank you, Mum, for being British. I have needed to be admitted to hospital
Damn, I
a
work
few times
tomorrow.
in my life and they couldn't
Yeesh.
have done a better job.
I don't
I
want
was
to
only
go.
young when the gas leak happened, but it defiantly changed my opinion on my country of birth. A lot of Americans I have spoken to about it, sadly including my father and several relatives.
Okay, so the garage is not
They
going to
are
be as
personally
tall
being robbed of their own money if
as
goes to
the
someone else
entrance
less
door.
fortunate than themselves to help them have a life saved pain eased by having social health care. It's something I genuinely find shameful. Plus they say they are religious people, but obviously caring for others is only okay to the point of it not costing anything. I'm against a lot of things being run by the government, but I think there are certain things that are necessities for pretty much anyone in a modern society, which makes sense to nationalize. It's not a right, but it's also something everyone will use and pay for in some shape or form. Things like education. Having an educated workforce helps me by helping the economy. Transportation. It's important to keep up roads everywhere for a variety of reasons. And healthcare.
This seems
And I
kind of
generally
tall
come
for
in
a
as
garage.
libertarian in questionnaires. These are the issues that knock my score down. Lol. Unfortunately, I don't have faith in the government to run it efficiently. I fear ballooning costs would raise taxes. Look at what is happening with Social Security. If healthcare is successful and is run with a surplus, they will just borrow against it to pay down other debts.
Perfect.
As a Canadian posting to what is already a liberal circle jerk of a site, let's be honest, you just wanted
Let's
the
be
low-hanging
honest.
calmer fruit, didn't you? Taxes are too high, and a lack of trust in our federal governments to get it right. Americans who visited Europe, what was your biggest WTF moment? Had a positive what the frick moment in Greece and the Eastern Peloponnese where I saw the guy walk down
This
the
kid keeps
other
visiting my
throw an
freaking
actual
mansion.
fricking trident into the Aegean and
I'm
pull
about to
out
turn
a
to
million
Nevercracker.
octopus. Dude walked up the beach and handed it over the deck railing to a chef.
What are you doing
fricking
on
saw
my
Poseidon.
swamp?
Spent a summer
Oh
in
no, wait,
Germany.
that's Shrek.
They had the
Yikes.
cleanest, safest, best tasting tap water, but nobody drank it and they called it toilet water. Also, the older people in village seemed super grumpy and mean and would never smile or respond if you said hello or good morning, but if you asked them a substantive question, like how to get to the museum, they would spend 15 minutes telling you the fastest way to get there, the scenic way to get
Damn,
there,
everyone BRB.
everything interesting you should do on the way there. Why that museum isn't actually that good and you should go to this other museum, 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 other museum.
Whoop, the video just died.
Other museum, other. About the water. We do drink it, but usually most people prefer sparkling water which you can buy at the shop, or you have a soda stream. Funny enough, my biggest WTF moment came from an American. We were at a restaurant in Sancterra, Italy called Trattoria del Billy. About halfway through our meal, I overheard a guy with a Tennessee Arkansas accent say,
I literally
in a
just...
frustrated tone, you need to speak more American to his waiter. This isn't Rome. This isn't Venice. It's a
Okay, I guess I'm
small
gonna
town called
make the
Monero.
entrance to
odds
the
of
driveway
finding
now.
someone
Not the
fluent in your
driveway, the
language are
backyard.
drastically lowered. However, this guy
It's
was
gonna
pompous
be...
enough to not only continue to berate his waiter, but then tell the manager who came around that he needs to hire someone who can speak American in a foreign country, of which he obviously speaks zero of their language. Seriously, WTF. One time in Rome, it started pouring. As I sought shelter,
I'll put
I
3
saw
sliding
an older man
doors,
selling one single umbrella.
2 turtle
Strange
doves,
as
and a
it was,
partridge
I
and a
needed
pear
that umbrella,
tree.
so I haggled with him and settled on €3. He had the upper hand in that transaction. I wander over to a coffee shop to dry out for a little bit. When I go to leave, the umbrella is no longer in the bucket by the door. Upset at myself for being so trusting, I head into the rain again. Guess who I see? The same old man selling the same umbrella. I try to confront him about stealing back my umbrella, but he claims not to remember our interaction at all. It's pouring and I have a number of miles to walk, so I go through the same charade with him again to re-procure the umbrella. At least this time he took €2. That is an old scam tactic. Going to a soccer game in Italy, when buying a ticket, they needed to know which team I was rooting for to determine where I could sit. Then, during the game, people were setting things on fire. Went to Sweden on a vacation package. Stayed at a wonderful historic hotel for part of the trip that had a restaurant inside of it. Part of our package called for a free dinner at the hotel and we had asked that it be the night we arrived. We arrived and got settled in our room and then went to check out the restaurant. As soon as we walked
Is this
in,
good?
there was no one there, only a hostess. She immediately said they were expecting us and we could sit anywhere. There was no one else in this gorgeous, ornate restaurant. A waiter came
I have an
out and
idea.
said they had prepared a special meal for us. We asked why it was so empty and he said the restaurant was closed one day a week and today was that day. We were shocked. We apologized profusely and told them that we had booked through another company and would have
This
just
is
scheduled it
working.
for another day.
This is gonna
They
work.
said it was no problem and we had some free extras such as wine and dessert. The main course ended up being
Damn.
a huge piece of meat, which we jokingly said must have been because we were big fat Americans.
The manual's
No
a
one
bunch of
rushed us.
junk.
We had a great time, and after we left they closed the restaurant for the night. It was a total WTF moment because if you booked something like this in America, they'd either force you to reschedule or just have the restaurant closed with no
I need
explanation.
corner stairs. Thank
Went
you.
to Dover, England and saw Motherfricking Castle. The newest section was built like 300-400 years before my country was founded.
Excuse
Turned a
me,
corner
miss.
and the next part was 200 years older than that. 10 minutes later,
Hey, just
walk
coming
up to a
along
Roman
nicely.
lighthouse built 2,000 years ago. Damn. 2,000-year-old Roman column sitting half sunken in a
Give me this
dude's
grass
yard,
block.
and he was
Now.
just
Give it to me.
mowing around it like it was an old stump. You saw a bird table. We were driving through Spain, and to the side of one of the roads, we noticed these massive birds' nests in the high-power electrical towers. They were at least twice the size of eagles' nests that I had seen, and there were so many of them. Then we saw these giant birds in them. We stopped by the side of the road and tried to take some pictures. Didn't have a great zoom lens, sadly, but no one else was stopping. It was so odd. We are accustomed to at least a few people stopping to watch the osprey, eagles, or other birds where I'm from. So a few days later, we are chatting with a German tourist, and we bring up the birds. I think she thought we were joking until
So what I'm gonna do here is make this a little hill
Storks?
that
Those are
goes
storks.
down to.
Of course, don't you know that? They are everywhere and such a nuisance.
Let me
Don't
save.
you have storks in America? Well, no. Then she looked confused. Well, if you don't have storks, who brings the babies in kids' stories? Storks? How does that work? And that was when we realized that the story of the storks makes a whole lot more sense when storks are nesting on every chimney, tree, or tall place. When I visited Prague and water cost 2 crowns and beer cost 1. My uncle went to the Philippines and a double whiskey and coke cost less than a single, because whiskey is cheaper than coke.
There's no other side, Bojack.
Every meal in Paris taking 3 hours. I love the culture and I'm all about eating a relaxing meal, but sometimes it was just like WTF when we were on a schedule and had to meet up with a tour group or had reservations for something. Try getting
Okay, now we
home
can
when you're in a hurry. Impossible. Feeling proud of myself for eating late, like a local, At 2100 hours in Lisbon only to walk into a empty restaurant. By the time I'd finished eating at 2200 hours the place was full. That's only Southern Europe, though. Here in Germany it's more like 1820.00. A normal, not bar or snack fast
Something.
food like
I'm just trying to figure out what to do first. Should I do this? Okay, I'm just do first. Yeah.
And close the kitchen about an hour or so earlier.
Give me the marble.
I was in Scotland this summer and in Edinburgh I asked someone for directions. They told me just go past the Tron in a very thick accent. Though she was saying train except while walking to the train I saw earlier I noticed a bar called the Tron. In UK, we navigate by pubs. My American friends who visited the Netherlands, completely surprised by our bicycle things. So many bicycles everywhere. B, everybody riding without a helmet. C, so many different bicycles. While in Amsterdam 2 years ago, saw a woman with 2 kids and the wheelbarrow contraption at the front of her bike, and a baby strapped to her seat behind her. Not a helmet in sight. If she tried that in Toronto, city councillors' heads would explode en masse. I was a military brat living in Belgium when I saw a commercial on AFN, Armed Forces Network, that gave new arrivals
Why the fuck did it go
a
that
quick
way?
rundown of things. The one thing I learned and that has stuck with me is, no right turn on red. For me it was a lack of insects in England. Not that they don't
I thought they
exist,
said
but
incest. I was like,
lots of
what?
swampy land around me. When I showed up at my dorm and saw there was no screen on my window I was just thinking about all of the bugs that are gonna get in my room. I got one fly the entire month.
Actually, no, that's not gonna work because the doors.
Your window open at night with the lights on, you might get a couple of moths and the occasional spider. But we're really lucky with our relative lack of biting insects and flies.
False alarm.
It was subtle at first, but it eventually boggled my mind how old everything was and it was still
No, I
integrated
need
into everyday
these.
life.
Thank you.
Like in the UK, drinking in pub that had been in the same spot since the 11th century, or eating dinner at restaurant in an 18th cathedral, or in Prague going to club in a 14th century stone cellar, or staying a hotel brewery that had been
What's
operating
this?
since the 15th century.
Why look like
The
this?
oldest building in my vicinity is from the 1750s, which is prehistoric by US standards. But like,
Okay, good.
someone in Europe
Now
sees a
I could
building that is
just
half a
set
millennium
the
old that no one is using and they're like,
the
let's
windows.
turn this into a disco. I loved it. I live in England and the
It's about to
village
be
near
the
me has a
noisiest
bunch
house
from the
ever.
early 1700s
Oh yeah, I did
that
that for a
modern
reason.
because the village itself and the
1 second.
surrounding buildings and other pub is from the pre-Doomsday Book era, 1086. I forget sometimes just how old this country is. I lived in Germany for 8 years from 1992
Okay, I'm gonna just
to
delete that
2000.
because
Ages 4-12.
I'm just delete it.
I didn't
Put the
realize until I
windows
moved
up
back to the
first.
States, but there were recycling bins on every street corner. It wasn't just a green bin then a trash can. It was a giant blue bin. One section for green glass, one for brown glass, one for clear glass, one for plastic, and one for paper. Oh, and going to a German school, students took public transit. There wasn't such a thing as a school bus. Beer tap in the uni cafeteria. Drinking one beer with your lunch from time to time is not considered special at all in Germany. Drinking 2 beers every day for lunch makes you an alcoholic. How easy and unencumbered by useless booze most things are. Getting on a 5:30 train from Brussels to Berlin, show up at 5:20, and get laughed at by the Germans who will finish their beer at exactly 5:28 because they know the walk from the bar to the platform is 1 minute and 57 seconds. The states that would require showing up at 3:15 because of at least 4 security checkpoints and 8 lines of people who can't figure out how an escalator works.
Escalators, escalators, escalators.
In Germany, kids playing in around the lake naked. In Amsterdam I saw a guy get jacked in the head with a bottle, take 2 steps back and then pass out. All his friends scattered. Then the 2 old man shop owners were like, lol, kids, am I right? I am from the NYNJ area, and have seen firsthand how out of control sporting events can get. Guys, mostly, getting drunk, vandalizing property, throwing cans and bottles, fighting, etc. So when a group of friends went to Germany for Oktoberfest some years ago, we also wanted to see a football, soccer, game. So we got tickets to see Bayern Munich versus some other German team in what, I think, was a meaningful game. We went more for the experience versus being huge
This is
fans.
coming along pretty nicely.
I think the score was 5-1, so lots of action. The energy in the stadium was undeniable. Fans singing, jumping around, yelling for the entire game. Game ends. Munich wins.
I think he said
The
game
march to the
ends.
subway
I was like,
station,
what?
virtually an entire stadium, it seemed, exited to go to this one nearest subway stop. There are 4, maybe 5 cops standing at the entrance steps. Oh, this is going to be a huge problem. Thousands of people, lots of them intoxicated, heading toward these 5 cops at this one exit. It's going to be a disaster. Some guys start to pee on a fence within their view. What are they doing? And then, as we watched nervously, the crowd reached the cops and just stopped. Everyone stopped. No one fought. The guys finished up their business, zipped up and joined the queue. Cops let enough people by to fill the first train. Then the rest stopped, and so on and so forth until our group went.
This
It
makes
was incredible. That scene couldn't happen in America.
I hope this looks
Maybe
fine.
this was an anomaly.
I feel like this will look
Picturing an
fine.
event at MSG. There's an army of state troopers to keep order, in addition to
I have no idea how to make a car,
undercover
but
cops, event security, etc. And brawls and things still erupt with regularity. This was amazing to us. We still talk about it years later. That was some respectful, organized and orderly crap. The urinal type things in Amsterdam were interesting. Also the way English people say urinal. Paying to use a public restroom. I get why though. Just a horrible feeling if you really had to go and you don't have any change. Every night in Spain, around 3 AM, this massive fleet of street scrubbers, vacuum mobiles, and water hoses appeared and cleaned the entire city for about an hour. It was like 100 people every night just cleaning the city. The following morning, all of Salamanca was spotless. That crap was magical. Salamanca is beautiful. This is the best bratwurst I've ever had. And this is
the fuck is that smell?
Cologne train station bratwurst takes some beating too. 1. I went to the Netherlands for a music festival over the summer last year. The night before I went to a show and met a Scottish guy who came over and said, "You look American." I replied yes, and he immediately started talking about American politics and the military. It was weird how he assumed I was completely knowledgeable about all upper level government duties, but otherwise was a chill dude. 2. The fact that there's no AC. I didn't realize it wasn't standard and was melting in my hotel room. 3. How uncommon asking for ice is. I've never gotten stranger looks when I would ask for a drink with some ice. One person at the festival had to confirm she understood me lol. I stayed with a family in France for a week. The first thing the son did when I got there was to show me their American refrigerator. I was confused at first because it was a Samsung.
An American an American refrigerator. Interesting.
I was happy to have ice for the first
I
time
didn't know.
in 2 months.
Appliances.
In Scotland there was a bomb threat at a local gas station. The news anchor that was covering it interviewed locals about how they felt about this terrifying event.
From the side it looks kinda ugly, not gonna lie.
I don't know much about that, but I'm sure the government is taking care of it.
Like what the fuck? Why it look like this?
The government and not wanting to button blew my mind. I was in Italy and wanted to grab a bite and a beer for some lunch. I left the flat and I was flabbergasted to find the entire town was empty. Everything was closed. Not even the neighborhood dogs were around. Lived in Italy for 3 years. Definitely took a while to adjust to this though. And you also learn the specific times for places you want to visit since
what
they
the
all
hell is
close
that?
for a few hours. In Italy there is virtually no threshold for how much distance should be left between a speeding car and any obstacles, including pedestrians. It is zooming past. A bus driver will rush down a narrow cobblestone street with about a centimeter to spare between the sides of the bus and any parked cars, walls, ancient monuments, or playing children. At a pedestrian crossing in Italy, if you approach cautiously and hesitate waiting for cars to slow down for you, you'll get nowhere.
Oh, I have an idea.
Out there like you own it and then they stop. The scooters just drive around you.
I just saw this randomly.
Barely even look before crossing, but it's scary as crap for tourists. I was in Spain as an exchange student. I had bronchitis after
I don't know why. I just want to see if this will work or not.
Took me to the which gave me a pill that eliminated the illness entirely under 2 days. I slept, woke up 100% better. It was banned in the USA. I wish I could recall its name. In Spain, everyone appears to be very thin, yet I swear eats a loaf of bread a day. The Spanish are quite active. Even the elderly will go for their evening strolls. I love Spain. When I visited the hospital and had x-rays done, spoke with 2 doctors and
No.
was triaged by a nurse, all with no health insurance, and my total bill was 24 euros.
That gives me an idea
Then
to
I
do
had
for
to pay 10
this one.
additional euros for
Actually, no,
some
never mind. It's
painkillers,
already done.
again with no insurance or anything. I will never understand Americans being so opposed to universal health care. The fact I can pay a few quid a month into the NHS and not worry about choosing between getting food or getting treated for an illness is one of the best
Okay, now
things
let's
we've ever done
see.
in the UK.
Let's work on the thing I've been putting
Not
on.
American,
This
but
mess.
Canadian. First time I went to Ireland, I go through customs and the agent says to me, business or personal? Personal. Oh yeah, what's up? Visiting the in-laws. First time in Ireland. Yes.
So the stairs
Second
can go
time.
right here.
Well, why ya standing around? Go get pee. What part of Ireland were you visiting? Seeing an elderly Chinese tourist pull down her grandkid's pants so he can take a crap on the sidewalk. It was in the entrance of Disneyland in Paris. Google spot the mainlander. Germany. Went on a road trip to Hamburg with my friend and her parents in their tiny little car. Dad drove us to the red light district and insisted that we go check it out. Left his wife and 25-year-old daughter in the back seat to higgle H through the glass. WTF.
No, I didn't mean to color it black. No.
In Venice I saw someone's dog poop in front of 2
Actually, no, that's a good idea.
old churches and then they didn't even
I'm
bother
happy I
to
did
pick
that.
it up. 1 poop equals 1 respect. Went to Spain. They weren't speaking Spanish. I learned that Catalan existed. This was years ago. And Galician and Basque. So 4 proper languages, including Castellano Spanish, and a lot of dialects on top. I went to Portugal and Greece and they offer beer at McDonald's. Awesome. And I'm not talking about a no paper cup, I mean a glass of beer. I was in Spain and I saw a group of American tourists wearing sombreros. I once saw a reality TV show where a family visited Japan and the dad kept saying gracias to everyone. His daughter explained that her dad's default is to speak in Spanish to any foreigner. Not even good Spanish, just basic words like a tourist talking to someone in South America. At pubs in England, youngish guys drinking bottles of Budweiser. People walking around drunk and nobody doing anything, like we're just going to leave this person blackout drunk on the side of the walkway.
Let me see what this looks like from outside.
Places really blew me away.